I read in Zechariah chapter 7 today. There are two verses that stick out to me. The first one was verses 4 and 5, which says, "And the word of the Lord of armies came to me. Ask all the people of the land and the priests when you fasted and lamented in the 5th and in 7th months for these 70 years, did you really fast for me?" So what I wrote down is that we should do everything for God and His glory. And the next verse that stuck out to me was verse 12, which says, "They made their hearts like a rock, so as not to obey the law or the words that the Lord of armies had sent by His Spirit through the earlier prophets. Therefore, intense anger came from the Lord of armies." So what stuck out to me is that they turned from God, and so God punished them. Today's day 56. The title is Hoarding, and the key verse is Ecclesiastes 3:6, which says, "He sets the time for finding and the time for losing, the time for saving and the time for throwing away." So what I wrote down is that God has a time and place for everything. And the lesson talks about hoarding, how hoarding is just another way we hold on to the old ways of thinking, living, and finding significance. So basically, or what I wrote down is that that's basically sin, and that we shouldn't hold on to our sin. And then in the lesson, it also talks about how what we hoard ends up being what God asks us to surrender to Him. What I wrote down is that He calls us to a new life in Christ that requires surrendering.